me go on record here. He's going to come back. I talked to him in Pittsburgh. Mark my words.
What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So guys, channel membership is now live. Link is in the description and the first comment. Do check it out. That would really help support the channel. So let's start this video with the reigning 212 Olympia champion, Keone Pearson. Now for a guy who hasn't competed at all since the Olympia last year, his hamstrings looking this lean at 15 weeks out, that just isn't normal. So Keone is setting a new standard as the king of the 212. And I do believe that the 212 plus, that is now reaching a point where it's gonna become kind of boring and also very predictable, because there is gonna be nobody who can come close or challenge Keone Pearson for that Mr. Olympia title, especially this new version that we're seeing from Keone this time. So all the new stars in the 212, especially Kaya, who just won Dubai Pro last weekend. And I'm specifically mentioning him because he's been compared to a young Flex Lewis. So even him and all the other guys, they have to wait for Keone to switch to the men's open bodybuilding in order to have a chance to fight for that Mr. Olympia title in the 212. So other than that ab split that Keone has, the critics will have 0 points to really critique his physique. I mean, that guy has no other weaknesses. He's so damn complete now. And his back, which was one of his weakest points when he first came onto the scene, that has also came up big time. And after watching Keone invest a lot of time into that abdominal control, into posing and implementing that vacuum on a daily basis, he's also gonna have rock solid waist control. Now, even last year at the Olympia, Keone Pearson was like picture perfect. That guy had everything, and that was like a perfect peak. And you guys are probably gonna see one of the best overall backs on Keone Pearson this time around. So his lower half, the hamstrings and the glutes, they were simply world class even last year. So he was asked to add more density and thickness in the upper back. And I for one seeing him beating Sean Carida, even in that back double bicep pose from the upper half too, which we all know is one of the strongest poses for the former Mr. Olympia champion Sean Carida. So one of the very well-known judges from Mr. Olympia panel, who by the way also hosts the show for Mr. Olympia TV, he made a very huge claim that one of the biggest bodybuilding stars of the past couple of decades, Bumstead, is eventually gonna make a comeback. And he's gonna pursue the men's open bodybuilding in the future.
Let me go on record here. He's going to come back. I talked to him in Pittsburgh. Mark my words. Bumstead is going to come back. He won't come back as classic. He's going to come back in bodybuilding. And a lot of you guys are going to write it down.
Now, as fans, as much as we want to see that happen, it's really doubtful at this point, because he clearly set his priorities, and that too extremely well. That his health and his family, that comes first. Now, that being said, Chris did drop a hint about his Olympia comeback in his most recent YouTube video. But we all know he's just joking at this point.
Hey Siri, how many weeks until the Olympia? Just kidding. Maybe not. Open round 2 for the Olympia?
And honestly, after what Kai Green did to the whole of bodybuilding sport and the fans, year after year, nobody believes in the comeback stories unless it actually happens. Now for those who are saying that Cbum cannot make a comeback because he has lost a ton of size, then have a look at his recent physique from his latest YouTube video. So he had that shoulder injury a while back, and the rehab that required him to go through months of not being able to train his upper body. But now that he's back in his groove, or coming back into his groove, he's slowly transitioning back. He's gaining momentum, and that muscle memory, that is also kicking in pretty damn fast. Now, is it realistic for Bumstead to make a comeback? Well, 100% yes, if that's where his mind is at. The fact is, he is just 30 years old, and he has achieved more success in his life than anyone could ever imagine. So if there's a new challenge, especially in his own mind, he might look forward to it. And this could be something that he already loves, and that is bodybuilding. So do you guys think we will ever see a Bumstead comeback? Now let's talk about Flex Pro Italy scorecards and Rubiel's first pro win, which happened yesterday. So only 1 point difference between Presti and Rubiel, which is something that's very strange for many people out there. since majority of the fans, they think that it was a clear-cut victory for Rubiel, and the crowd certainly was with him. We do feel for Presti for getting another second place, but at the end of the day, a win is a win. Now, as reported by AJ Kelly, Rubiel was 290 pounds on the stage, and him coming in tighter from Dubai Pro to Italy Pro, that was a step in the right direction, and this is probably gonna give Rubiel enough motivation to stay more consistent in terms of the diet and focus on being just an IFBB Pro. And maybe he can come in, I'm gonna say 10 pounds less for his Olympia debut this year compared to this Italy Pro look, and dig deep, bring out more separation and more detail, because if he can do that, he can certainly place a lot higher than what the experts and all of us fans are thinking or expecting from him. Now from the front, it wasn't a big difference in terms of his conditioning, but there was a massive difference in his overall detail and the conditioning from the back, which simply indicates that the longer Rubiel stays on diet, the longer he stays consistent, the better he's gonna get. Look, he is the most freakiest bodybuilder of the modern era. There is simply no doubt about that. No one has quads like him. Nobody comes even close to having calves like Rubiel. But he can definitely put in more work on his delts and increase his width, because that is gonna help him create more of an X-frame and having a V-taper on the stage. Now for the amount of muscle mass that Rubiel carries, he pulls a super vacuum and he presents himself very well on the stage. So how high do you guys think Rubiel can place at his Olympia debut in October? Next up, we have an update from one of the guys who is gonna have one of the most anticipated pro debut at the Olympia this year, and that is Goodvito. So his absence from this year's Pittsburgh Pro, that made it kind of more intriguing, because we still do not have any idea how Goodvito is gonna stack up against some of the biggest names in the bodybuilding world. So his coach Chris Aceto, he was on the Menace podcast, and he went as far as saying that Goodvito could have beaten everyone in at the very least 3 shots at the Pittsburgh Pro, and that includes another one of his clients, the winner of the Pittsburgh Pro and the reigning Arnold champion Derek Lunsford.
Well, at that show, he would have won the front double, abs and thighs, and back lat spread. He would have won 3 poses for sure.
So we definitely did not see the best of Goodvito at this year's Arnold Brazil, the show that he won to secure his Olympia spot. Now many people think that Goodvito, and based on his history, where he narrowly lost to Martin Fitzwater at Detroit Pro last year, based on that, this guy can have a legitimate shot at placing top 10 or maybe even higher at his Olympia debut this year. And if there is one guy from the Olympia last year who was top 4 whom he can knock out, the fans think that person could be Martin Fitzwater. Now I do believe that is a bit of stretch, because Martin is still one of the top guys in the men's open.
Who would he have to beat to make it into the top 6? Who out of those guys you think he can beat if he gets to stand next to him?
We answered this when we did the poll. So who came in 4th last year?
Martin Fitzwater.
Martin. And I had him beating Martin.
So how much improvements Goodvito can make in his side poses, I think that's gonna make or break him for his Olympia debut, because his side shots at this past Arnold Brazil, they were simply not at the same level compared to any of those top 6 Olympians from last year. Next up, we have an update from Blessing Avudibu. So based on his current look, it doesn't seem like he's gonna do a show very soon, and he himself said that he wanted to stay somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks out condition and improve the level of muscularity, especially in his lower half, and then jump into a show, possibly in one of those last Olympia qualifiers. Now if he has to compete, especially in the US, there are only 2 shows left, and those are Tampa Pro and Texas Pro. So if Blessing was 100% spot on, if he had the same confidence and same condition as he had back in 2022, when he won 2 shows, the Indy Pro and the New York Pro, he probably would have entered either one of these shows with the aim to win and secure his Olympia spot. But the problem is that even his upper body, that wasn't as popping or as good as it was back in 2022, let alone his legs, which were looking very underwhelming. Now, due to some unknown reasons, Blessing has been unable to bring that same level of conditioning and the detail, and that is what Blessing is trying to figure out at the moment. So does anyone know whether Blessing is still working with Stefan as his coach, or has he moved on? Now, he clearly wasn't close to being in a contest-ready condition in one and the only show that he did this year, the Legion Sports. The most hurtful thing for Blessing, that must have been the fact that he had 2 years to put on some solid muscle and have a proper off-season, which he did. He went up to 325 pounds. But his final look on the stage this time, that did not show any of those improvements. And that is why this year has been very disappointing so far. But the man is staying very motivated to prove everyone wrong. And he's probably gonna do one more show this year to try and secure his Olympia spot. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. And smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.